Hey, how about the Republican Party? Where are most Republicans in the North? Okay, so obviously, what's the split in the Democratic Party about? Slavery, okay? Because Northern Democrats are going to oppose slavery, right? And Southern Democrats are going to be for it. So that's going to be a problem. Now, let's take a look at this. What did Northern Democrats feel about slavery? Let's talk. Well, they didn't really like it, but they believed in popular sovereignty. They believed, were they against the Southerners for having it in a way? Because they thought that the people that lived in those states should decide. But yet you had two opposing views. I mean, you're not going to get together philosophically if one side is against something and one's for it, even though they say, well, it's okay if you like it in your state, but we're not going to have it in ours. That's a united party, okay? So because of their differences, the Democratic Party actually nominated two different candidates, one from the North and one from the South. So the Democrats, because they cannot resolve their differences, and they never were going to, ended up choosing two different candidates for president. The Southern Democrats chose John C. Breckinridge for the presidency. And I didn't tell you this, but he actually was the vice president under James, B. He got elected. James Buchanan. Okay? So the Southern Democrats nominate Vice President John C. Breckinridge for the presidency. Now you should get this if you were listening at all in the last 30 minutes or so. Who did the Northern Democrats nominate? Come on. He's a Republican. Who's the most established Democrat? What? Oh, he's a Republican. Stephen Douglas, absolutely. Illinois Senator Stephen Douglas will be the Northern Democratic candidate. So, the Democratic Party's got too many differences in their opinions. As a result of that, they nominate two different candidates. The Southern Democrats nominate Vice President John C. Breckinridge, and the Northern Democrats nominate Stephen Douglas. Well, the Republican Party gets together, and it's no shoe-in. They have two people they're thinking about. The Republican Party's got two people they're thinking about. One was obviously who? Abraham Lincoln, although he was still kind of known, but got some great popularity with his debates and his run against Douglas. The other person they considered was the governor of New York, a guy by the name of William Seward. We'll come back and talk about him in a bit, because William Seward is going to have a role with Lincoln later. So the Republican Party met, and they discussed two possible men to nominate for the presidency, either Abraham Lincoln or Governor William Seward of New York. And it was a difficult time, they had a very difficult time choosing. But why didn't they just nominate both, like the Democrats did? Yeah, they're thinking to themselves, this is a great advantage for us. If they split the Democratic vote, we have a better chance of winning, right? So what they did, is, as you kind of do, is remember I told you, I can't remember because I get the two. I told you about it, when you go to a Democratic convention, you have a first ballot, and if nobody gets the nomination, you go to a second ballot. Did I tell you that story? Well, what happens is when you go to nominate a candidate, they have the first ballot, and here's how it works today. You start with the first state in the alphabet, Alabama. Okay, we're at the Republican National Convention. You guys are all separate states. Okay, it's between Seward and Lincoln. So I go to Alexa, who's the state of Alabama, and I say, how do you want to vote? She says, the great state of Alabama, home of the 2017 national champion football team, gives our 16 delegate votes to the next president of the United States, William Seward. So all of a sudden, William Seward has this many delegate votes. Then we go to the next state, Arkansas. McKinnon, we say, what are your votes? The great state of Arkansas, home of the Arkansas Razorbacks, gives 5 delegate votes to William Seward and 6 delegate votes to Abraham Lincoln. That's how it works. They go all the way down the alphabet, A to W. Obviously, there weren't as many states at that time, but basically, if no one gets the needed votes, you have to have so many delegate votes to get the nomination. If you don't get them on the first ballot, what do? They start over. They go back to Alexa. Now, does Alexa have to vote the same way she did before? No, so there's a lot of times there's some politicking going on between votes. Does that make sense? Well, what happens if you don't get it on a second vote? If you don't get the votes, you go to a third and then to a fourth. I'm going to give you a quick prelude here. In 1960, when John Kennedy was nominated, along with Lyndon Johnson, Stuart Symington, and Adlai Stevenson, they had the same issue. Well, they did the roll call. They started with Alabama. You know what state gave John Kennedy the votes, the final votes he needed for nomination, so it didn't go to a second ballot? Wyoming. It went all the way down. And if Wyoming would not have supported John Kennedy, it would have went to a second ballot, and who knows what would have happened. May not have had a President Kennedy, to be honest. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, getting back into this particular election here between Lincoln and Seward took 4 ballots. That was very unusual, and I'll tell you how each went. Okay, on the first ballot, first time they went through, Seward had more votes than Lincoln, but what he didn't have was the 2/3 majority that you needed. He didn't get enough. So as a virtue of him not getting enough, it had to go to a second ballot. And as I mentioned to you, everything could change on a second ballot because people can change their voting. So on the first ballot, Governor William Seward of New York actually wins, but he does not have the 2/3 majority required for nomination. So it goes to a second ballot. On the second ballot, they were almost dead even. And if you're dead even, obviously someone doesn't have what? 2/3 majority. On the third ballot, Lincoln won, but he was 2 delegate votes short of the 2/3. So Lincoln wins the third, but he's 2 delegate votes short. And on the fourth, Lincoln finally receives at least 2/3 majority and earns the nomination for president. Okay, let me ask you a question, and this happens. We've had it happen already. What happens when you got a weird election where it's not normal? Because the Democrats got 2 candidates, Republicans got 1. What normally happens in a weird election? Usually what comes into the picture? What? What? No, not yet. That's a good guess. So usually a third party comes in where somebody's in the background going, hey, the Democrats are split, the Republicans are unsure, it's been 4 ballots. Let's start our own political party and see if we can't win the election. And that's what the Constitutional Union Party did. As they sat in the background, they went, whoa, geez, the Democrats are nominating 2 because they're split. It took 4 ballots for the Republicans to figure out who they wanted. Let's jump in the race and see what happens. So a third party joins the race, and it was called the Constitutional Union Party. You know what it really was? A reorganized what party? Whig Party. Yeah, it was a reorganized Whig Party. But they called themselves the Constitutional Union Party, and they nominated Senator John Bell from Tennessee for the presidency. So you're actually in this election going to have 4 people running for president. John C. Breckinridge will represent the Southern Democrats. Stephen Douglas will represent the Northern Democrats. Abraham Lincoln will represent the Republicans, and John Bell will represent the Constitutional Union Party. Now, if you look geographically, most of the electoral votes were in the North because of population. So it was pretty easy to figure out that the candidate that could win the most votes in the North was going to win the presidency. That could be either who or who. Lincoln or Douglas. Okay? People in the North are going to vote for Douglas. So when you think about this, in reality, this is just a rerun of the Senate election of 1858, is what it is. Okay? Here's how it turns out. Senator Bell of the Constitutional Union Party actually carried 3 states. He won 3 states. He won Virginia, won his home state of Tennessee, and ironically, he won Lincoln's birth state of Kentucky, which wasn't that unusual, just a little ironic. So Senator Bell carries 3 states, Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Who carries the rest of the South? Breckinridge. Breckinridge carries the rest of the South. but there's not as many electoral votes there. So it's gonna be up to Lincoln and Douglas. Guess how many northern states Douglas carried? 2. Carried 2 is all, Missouri and New Jersey. So Lincoln carried the rest of the North. It gave him the 180 electoral votes that he needed, and he becomes the nation's most signified president at this time, 16th president of the United States. So I'll go through this again. Senator Bell carries 3 states, Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Vice President Breckinridge carries the rest of the South. Douglas only carries 2 northern states, Missouri and New Jersey. Lincoln carries the rest of the North, and he's able to get the 180 electoral votes he needs to become the 16th president of the United States. All right, here's what's left, kiddos. We're going to subtopic called Drifting Towards War and the Fall of Fort Sumter. We'll cover those tomorrow. And then Monday, I'm going to show you a video on how many people are not going to be here tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to finish this lecture up. Actually, I'll do this to give you a little bit of a break. We will do this. We will show you the video tomorrow. We will finish the lecture on Monday. We'll have a review Tuesday and a test Wednesday. Let's just plan on that. So we won't take any notes tomorrow. You guys that missed the video, you can come in and watch it. Might be a good thing. I can't put it on the recorder because it's copyright. So we probably should come in and see that after school on Monday or Tuesday.